possess power greater than any on Earth.
Welcome back to the Tide Year Hanger. This is Mike. Today I want to talk to you about G.I. Joe Classified Blunders from the Hasbro team. Now, a lot of people say, well, Mike, why do you keep talking about G.I. Joe Classified if you do not like G.I. Joe Classified? Problem is, that could not be further from the truth. I really do love this line. I enjoy collecting this line, but it will have a bright future if the Hasbro team learns from these mistakes and these blunders. This has been quite the roller coaster ride, to say the least. A lot of collectors have jumped off the roller coaster several times and somehow got back on and jumped off again. Before we get into these blunders, I do want to say that today is the last day to back the Haslab project. If you want to get this His Tank, it comes with all of these wonderful unlocks. You're going to end up with a total of 4 figures, and one's going to be a Mickey Mouse Cobra Commander in retro style packaging. So pretty cool looking overall. It is, in my opinion, exactly a $300 value, not more. Maybe a little less in some people's viewpoint, but it's still worth it, in my opinion. Down the road, it's going to be really hard to get these. And each figure is numbered, which does sort of suck. But I'm in on 2 His Tanks myself, so I back them. And if you want to get on it, you've got till midnight tonight on Monday. Let's get into talking about G.I. Joe Blunders coming up. Okay, a lot of people are going to just say that the problem is distribution issues, and all that kind of stuff. But that really does plague a lot of other toy lines. There's very specific issues with this toy line. We're going to get into starting out what I believe is the first problem. The first problem was the design. They got too far away from the source material, the Real American Hero from the 1982 to the 1994 era, and straying too far away from that did kind of leave a bad taste in some collectors' mouths, and made a lot of collectors not even want to start. At a $20 price point, these things, they didn't have to pay a licensing fee, so Hasbro, it's their internal brand, and for that, they packed in quite a bit of accessories, a decent amount of accessories overall, but still carry the same price point as the figures that they paid license for, more or less because they did want it to look similar, as a similar value play to the other figures on the shelf. As for the designs of these early wave figures, they were supposed to match this game Operation Blackout, and with that, Hasbro always wants to have some sort of media behind whatever they're doing. When they're putting out a toy line, or they put money behind a toy line at retail, they want to have a media to push that or drive the sales. And so now what they've done is upload the original cartoon to YouTube, and yes, the classic designs seem to win. It seems like 70 to 80% of collectors of Classified prefer classic or Real American Hero designs versus the Operation Blackout or this modern Fortnite look. So the next blunder on their part is too many versions of the same character. And early on, we don't need 4 versions of Roadblock. Now the thing is, they could have made 4 different characters, utilizing similar body parts and just changing a few things out, and I think collectors would have enjoyed that more. And the fact that they're reusing the mold, well, that's fine, but make different characters. And a lot of collectors feel the same way about this, but what most people really like is the one on the right, the Amazon one, which is version 1, and still, that's going to bring up a point. It's still not perfect, but looking at all of this, there's absolutely no reason for so many of the same character. Now, Roadblock's an example because I think this is the extreme of this character. There's the same thing with Cobra Commander, same thing, Destro's had a couple of them, but they can still reuse body parts, and it's no problem. Just give us new characters. There's 300 characters, and we're going to spend all of our time and effort on one character. Why are we going to have like 4,000 figures by the time this is done? I say this, but Roadblock is one of my top 3 favorite characters of all time, especially version 1. So the next blunder were the weapons. Now, some of the weapons made some sense and some of them did not, but some people that claim to be Nerf gun experts say these are Nerf guns, or a vast majority of these guns are based off of Nerf gun style designs. I don't know that. I don't know enough about Nerf guns. I have a handful that kids play with and stuff, but for the most part, that is a serious issue, that the figures don't have the correct weapons and accessories. They do not match what we would expect them to match. I mean, where's Modus, right? Although they're correcting this as they go or down the line. They might even be overcorrecting when it comes to retro, but we wanted good accessories from the get-go, and so that left opportunity for other companies to come in and deliver accessory packs so that your G.I. Joe Classified display could look more accurate. The next giant blunder is making any troop builder an exclusive Cobra Island, exclusive to Target. This was a big, gigantic blunder. Now, both the Cobra Trooper, which was later released with less accessories and stuff to the mainline, so it's still a big blunder, and in different numbers, so it's got individually numbered. Now we have the Viper, and all that. I've never seen a Viper in the store. Still, to this day, thousands of trips, not one Viper ever in a store. All my Vipers had to come from someone else, secondhand. Except for the one that I got during G.I. Joe June that my wife got for me at Target. So this is a big blunder, frustrates a lot of collectors, and I got to tell you, the Viper made me want to quit. And if it wasn't for my wife stepping in and me getting to cool down about it, I would have listed everything that I had G.I. Joe Classified and just be done with it, because it's so frustrating, thinking that you're not going to be able to further this line because they make it impossible. The next one is a combination of two, the Baroness and missed opportunities with vehicles. So we are all excited about G.I. Joe Classified. We're gonna, I gotta get a Trouble Bubble, and I'd like to get a Claw, or any of these wonderful small vehicles that they've made. There's a slew of them, but yet they make up a new one instead of giving us a classic designed one. And the only way to get Baroness for almost 2 years is in this 2-pack. And so it's frustrating, and we're all left not knowing, will this be the only way to get Baroness? Will there ever be a reissue? And all of this kind of stuff. So I actually did pay $100 for my second one I heard open, and I just didn't have the guts to open it. So here I have 2 of them sealed, and I still haven't opened her. And I think I'll probably just open up one of the crushed ones that you get from the retro. But we'll get into retro later. But missed opportunity on these vehicles early on. G.I. Joe is 50-50, a vehicle and a character line. And in fact, a lot of people feel like the vehicles are the star and the figures are accessories. But I really think it's more of a 50-50. And I don't know. I personally do not care about this coil cycle, and I don't know many collectors that do. Next major blunder from Hasbro with this toy line was Beachhead. Now, the thing about Beachhead is, I was thinking, well, okay, it's an exclusive, but it's not going to be as hard to get as, say, a Trooper, or say the Viper, or something along those lines. But this guy was really hard to get and was selling for upwards of $140 online, because he's what a lot of collectors considered a necessary character, one character that they've got to get. And to say that every time you go to Target he's not there, then the only option is to buy it online, and nobody knows if there's going to be a reissue. And then the other thing about this is really strange. I think there actually were more collectors that were collecting this line when Beachhead came out, and Beachhead's one of the ones that made them quit, along with the other blunders we're going to talk about. But Beachhead, if I didn't find it in the store and luck across one, then I would have just done without. There's no chance I would have paid $140 for one of these. They did reissue them for G.I. Joe June, but that was a year and a half later. So the next one is Firefly. Now, that one was an exclusive. It was hard to get. And for me personally, there were already options out there for Fortnite figures that I thought looked better. Then I still haven't opened a Firefly, because the Fortnite figure I have in place, and there's 2 different ones from 2 different companies. I don't remember the names. Jazzware McFarlane, is that what it was? But I've got both of them, and both of them look better than this figure. I feel down the road we'll actually get a good one, and it'll probably have a different number and all of that. But I do not like the look of this figure at all. I don't feel like it captures the essence of the character at all. So for me, it's a huge blunder. It's a huge failure. Some people like it. I mean, I guess, but I don't. So the next major blunder was Major Blood. And the thing about this one was that the only way we knew this figure even existed was that there was a single lone listing on eBay, and it was ran up to $26,000. And then several of those bids were retracted, and then it went down to like $500 or $600, which is still way too much. And then the seller got upset that was going on, and I guess he found out he was being trash talked or whatever. So he puts this picture up with some emoji middle fingers or something, or I guess he was telling all of the bidders that they're number one. But with that, this is crazy. This is starting the rash of figures leaking out without even being announced, and Hasbro's response was laughing and saying, most of y'all already have this by now. But then again, it was an exclusive, so only the people that got lucky enough to luck across one actually had one, and then as soon as they were on the market, they were gone. But this one actually didn't sell out quite as fast as the rest of them. The Scarlet repaint, I think, is a major blunder, and they repainted the Duke, they repainted what we saw earlier with the roadblock, and those were better repaints than this. So this here makes absolutely no sense how they repainted her to try to make her look more retro. In fact, it looks strange overall, and here's why. They already made a decent version in the 25th anniversary, so why could they not? Oh, and I don't even know, is this the same version that they reissued for the retro at Walmart that, again, I never, ever, ever, ever saw, and I win every day? So, but still, this is a very decent version, and they could have built off of this. So they chose not to, and they chose not to match the color schemes, even though they heard the fans. And they did a repaint to make it look more classic. They heard the fans, but I guess they didn't truly listen. Maybe we'll get a retro. Oh, wait, they gave that slot to Lady J, which is just minor tweaks and improvements, where this could have been leaps and bounds better. The next major blunder is continually packing in Cobra Commander wave after wave after wave after wave. And then the other blunder is the fact that they underproduced the color scheme that most collectors want, that we call the Regal Commander. This Regal Commander might go down as the biggest blunder in G.I. Joe Classified history, simply because of the fact that it was leaked by some unknown online company, and I don't even remember the name, and I'll probably never use that site, so I just absolutely don't care who they were, but it was leaked by some unknown company that had nothing to do with selling action figures, and it was supposed to be their exclusive, but then Pulse comes up with theirs, and we didn't know if the Pulse was going to actually be this blue, or we were going to get a mainline release of this blue later. So what happened was that I did order one, so I got mine, but the rest of the world did not. And so we're all in confusion, because I actually thought, well, I could just return a Cobra Commander if it comes in the same color. It's not a big deal. But a lot of other people didn't want to roll the dice on that, and so this is one of the most valuable G.I. Joe Classified figures, because of the fact that it has the right color scheme. It's going to lose its value when a real Cobra Commander comes out. When the Haslab His Tank comes out, and then of course the remold of that with a real Cobra, not the Mickey Mouse. But still, this is a major, major blunder. Now the next major blunder in G.I. Joe Classified line is including the movie figures. Now, this might be a fun party trick, a fun game, something that you could do as a scavenger hunt. But you can walk into pretty much any Walmart and probably any Target, don't have that many Targets to choose from, and you could pull the whole wave, every figure that goes with this, and set it down, take a picture of it. You could do that. I was able to just randomly walk into a Walmart, and I could probably have gotten 3 or 4 sets. These are clogging up retail, and they're numbered. And even though they're numbered, people are happy to have a giant number gap and say, well, those are the worthless movie figures that I don't want. Well, I ended up with some because I bought my friend's collection and he had them, so that's what it is. But at the same time, why are they numbering these? Well, I guess they don't want people to be completists, because most people do not want these at all. And the movie, not so great. Well, the movie's probably not a horrible movie, but it's not at all in any way, shape, or form a G.I. Joe movie. The next major blunder was the SDCC Zartan, making that almost impossible to get. In fact, I was there the second it came up, and I had everything prepared and ready to go. I placed my order, and it didn't go through. And I tried, and then it was out of stock. I waited about 15 minutes of trying to figure out, it's still in my cart, how come I can't check out? What's going on here? I'd never had a problem with Pulse trying to get a figure before this figure, and so this one was frustrating. I've had problems trying to order from Target because they ran out or whatever, but never had problems with Pulse until this figure. And then of course I didn't have the premium, so I was told I should have premium and all that crazy nonsense, which I do now, so I can get free shipping on those 2 His Tanks and all that kind of stuff. And well, this is all frustrating, right? So I actually used this picture from MCU Collector to make my own. He ain't pretty, but it's close enough for me, I guess. And everybody that tells me, Mike, here's a link to where you can get one, here's a link to where you can get one, but they all cost close to $100 after tax and shipping. So a $36 figure is now $100. I mean, why not reissue this guy? Why not make this more readily available? Nope, you get the retro. The next major G.I. Joe Classified blunder is the retro collection. Now, the retro collection is a decent idea, and yeah, it's kind of a good idea, but the card backs are so thin and flimsy, and they're being stuffed in literally envelopes, not even bubble mailers. They've gone all the way down to envelopes, and they show up with bubbles crushed, cards creased. And I gotta tell you, some people are saying, Mike, your cards aren't nearly as bad as mine, but I've taken a lot of time and care to try to make them look as good as I can before I even made this video, and that's what made me make that video about the crushed bubbles and the crushed cards and all this kind of stuff for the G.I. Joe Classified Retro. But I have to say, I did get a good version of Lady J from Hasbro Pulse. It was decent. It's still not perfect. It's got a little bit of a crease, but I'm perfectly happy with it compared to what I got before. And some say Walmart dropped the ball. Others say Hasbro dropped the ball. It's a combination of both. While we're on this topic of the retro figures, this is another major... It's sort of a fail, actually. This is what everybody who wanted a gung-ho wanted, that I know. And they finally corrected it in the second gung-ho version. So I guess you could say they're going in the right direction. So I'm going to flip the script and start saying how Hasbro's actually going in the right direction with this toy line. This figure is phenomenal. It looks great. And yes, it's going to show up in a crushed bubble and a crushed card, but the figure itself looks good. Might as well open it up and enjoy it, right? So the next thing I think that they're doing to go in the right direction for this toy line is making the exclusives the Tiger Force and Python Patrol. Now, I said this years ago. That's what they should have done with Target in the first place. But I think they were just looking to say, well, let's just plug characters in wherever somebody's willing to cover the costs for us and take this as a retailer. So with this is moving in the right direction. Now, when they did this, a lot of people thought this was a blunder. But I saw it for what it was. We're going to get a bazooka and we're going to get an Outback in standard form down the road, and we get the Tiger Force ones first. So that's fine with me. I can live with that because we know we're going to get good ones down the road. And I do believe the Tiger Force ones are going to be in very small quantities, harder to get, but they're already less desirable to these collectors anyway. So for me, I'm in on them. I'm in on them because I think it's a lot of fun and I'm for it. But a lot of people are going to pass, and that's exactly what exclusives are for. We're getting a ton of new characters. Now, we can say pluses and minuses to all of the new characters that are coming, but we are getting new characters. Now, Storm Shadow, yes, the retro one's impossible to get. Zartan was pretty easy to get for that. And then another Snake Eyes. I mean, they're beating Snake Eyes to death, but whatever. And then we have the Kamakura, or whatever the name is on that one. So that's another exclusive that makes sense. It's just a repaint of something we've already gotten. And so, that's Blue Ninja, and the Kamakura is not in this picture. But Sergeant Slaughter, now, that is kind of a negative towards what's going on with the Valaverse line, where they're going to kind of try to overshadow the Valaverse line with theirs. And so that is a bit of a negative, and it does carry a much higher price point. But we are getting the Sarge officially in G.I. Joe Classified. Now, I didn't really want to call what happened with Mindbender a blunder, but pretty much everyone I know was able to get theirs early and on time, but the vast majority still didn't, so I guess it could be 50-50 here or there. But there was 3 times more inventory for this figure than there was for the Zartan, so I take that as they're trying to do better. I mean, I was able to get my pre-order in, so I feel pretty happy about that, and everybody I know that I passed this message along to got theirs. So I feel good about that also. But on the flip side, yeah, it's still a bit of a negative. But 3 times more than they did with Zartan. True Builders are more easily accessible. The Bat is very easy to get. There's a lot of online places that if they don't have them in stock, they have pre-orders on the way. They're still going to show up. So you may have to wait a little bit longer, but you can still get it. And I'm actually hearing crazy rumors about people finding them at Target or some places on maybe Walmart on clearance for $12. So that's fantastic. I have never seen this sit on the shelf longer than 30 minutes. Like, it hits the shelf. If somebody comes along, they're going to buy it. I mean, it's not going to make it an entire day on a shelf at a Walmart or Target that I know of. And lastly, they seem to be increasing their production, so we're going to have more access to more figures. It seems like they're more confident in this line, they're going to make more, and it's going to be more readily available and easier to get in the future for new figures. So for that, I think the frustrations will still be there occasionally, but less often. Less of an issue and less of a big deal. So, let me know what you think about these G.I. Joe Classified Blunders. Has this been a frustration for you that made you jump off the roller coaster ride of ups and downs with G.I. Joe Classified? Have you jumped off, gotten back on? Have you stuck it out the whole way like me and a little salty about it? And are you excited for the future like me, which is kind of strange? Like, subscribe to Deer Hanger out.
We had won, but you countermanded my order.
Your meddling brought us defeat again and again and again.
You're not just a fool, you're Cobra's curse!
Cobra! Retreat! Retreat! I was once a man.